people, hope you all are doing well, and today we are going to take a look at the 16-inch MacBook Pro with an Intel processor and see if it's the worth of a purchase in 2021 when the MacBook Pro Silica is right in the corner. This is it, Apple's latest and greatest MacBook Pro 16-inch with Intel processor. The reason why I opted for the Intel one, especially when the Mac with the Silica process are right by the corner, the main reason for that is the potential delay, especially because of the chip shortages which are happening because of this pandemic. There are four main highlights about this new Mac, which the first one is the thermal throttling issue has been solved. Thank God for that. And the second one is the keyboard. The butterfly keyboard has been switched to the scissor keys. Maybe I should say it's a hybrid between scissor keyboard and the butterfly one. It has 1 millimeter of travel and gives a lot more feedback, and it's reliable. Third one is the performance improvement, especially in the GPU department. And the fourth one is battery life, which they have maxed out at 100 watt an hour, which is the maximum legal allowed limit for a lithium-ion battery in any flight in the US. So they have maxed out in that, and I really appreciate that. So these are the four main things which have changed, apart from the slightly larger display, which hardly you would notice that. A little thickness for compensating in better thermal throttling issue and a better battery life is always welcome. Coming on to the specs, the MacBook Pro 16-inch starts from i7 processor with 16GB RAM and 4GB graphics card with a base storage of 512GB, which is a really good upgrade from the last one. Going up all the way up to i9 processor with 64GB RAM with 8GB graphics and $2,200 upgrade for a 8TB of SSD, which I don't think it's that expensive considering that you have all the storage built in to the Mac rather than carrying a dongle and hardware with you. So that's pretty good. Coming to the performance part, the base model 16-inch MacBook Pro outshines the previous gen 15-inch MacBook Pro with the highest and greatest graphics card. So that's a really awesome upgrade, and I wonder how the previous owners of the latest 15-inch MacBook Pro would feel like. Damn. That's about the performance part. Now let's talk about the keyboard. Me personally, I don't care. Even if that's a butterfly, a mechanical, or a scissor switch. I'm not a typist. I don't usually type that often. The only time when I use a keyboard is replying to some mails and some Instagram stuffs, and mainly for editing videos, doing some shortcut keys. Apart from that, I rarely use them. I know there are people out there who use the MacBook Pro mainly for all the typing stuff. So for them, a reliable keyboard is an added feature, and I really appreciate Apple for going back. Now let's talk about the thermal throttling issue which had in the previous 15-inch MacBook Pros, which have been resolved in this new 16-inch MacBook Pro. But I need to emphasize on one thing, which is that this 16-inch MacBook Pro, its fan is always on, and sometimes in a quiet room it will hinder you. So keep that thing in mind. But I had no issues with overheating this MacBook Pro even when I was rendering 4K 120p at XAVC-S. Now let's talk about the design. I mean, it's usual Apple, nothing new in here, and to be honest, I'm a little disappointed with this design because we are seeing the similar sort of Mac from, believe it or not, a decade right now. So yes, there has been a lot of evolution in the same design, but I think it's time for an overhaul. So I would suggest Apple to redesign the MacBook Pros completely from ground up, especially by when the Apple is completely transitioned to the Mac Silicon chips. Talking about the design features of this MacBook Pro 16-inch, one thing which I'm really impressed about is the speaker quality in this thing, which I can honestly say that is the best speaker in any laptop currently in the market. And yes, I said that. However, the one gripe which I have with this MacBook Pro, which drives me crazy, is that its webcam, which is 720p ridiculously slow webcam, which shouldn't be in this laptop at this price range. Yes, this MacBook Pro 16-inch is bigger in all dimensions, but I think you won't be finding it difficult to carry this on your current backpack and all your sleeves which you are using it to carry your 15-inch MacBook Pros. This MacBook Pro 16-inch has 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. I'm okay with that. I don't want any more USB Type A. One thing which I would highly recommend Apple to do is provide us a couple more USB Type C with Thunderbolt 3 capabilities, which would really improve the usability of this Mac, and I can carry less dongles with me if Apple would do that. Then there are some few changes here and there, like a dedicated escape button, which I thank a lot for that, and a power button with a touch ID, which is separated from the main touch bar with the inverted T arrow key, which I don't really care. Last but not least, we have a power brick with 96 watt of fast charging included in the box. So I don't think anyone would recommend this, but what I did was, this is my charge everything fast charger. So I used to charge even my buds using this power brick, so I don't have to carry around 3 or 4 power brick for each and every devices which I use. So hey, I don't recommend this, but you can do this if you want to. Now let me tell you if you should buy this MacBook Pro 16-inch in 2021, or you should perhaps wait for the upcoming 2022 version with the M1X chips. I would suggest you 2 things. If you are a person who doesn't own a MacBook Pro right now, or your current MacBook Pro is a 2016 or 2015 or something which is a 4 or 5 years old and you are in need of an upgrade, I don't think you would go wrong with this MacBook Pro with Intel processor. It's still good, it's the best in the business right now currently. Yes, Apple would produce a better version of the same MacBook Pro 16-inch in the coming years. And that's what they are doing with all the devices like iPhones or MacBook Pros or Mac Pros or anything for that matter. So, because if you're waiting to get the latest and greatest, you would wait forever. Because each and every year, an updated version of the same thing would come and take over the ground. Sooner or later, the other one too. So in 2021, buying the 16-inch MacBook Pro with the Intel processor, it's a no-brainer. Yes, it has some cons here and there, but they are really minor one which we can just ignore. Especially if you're a creator, you are looking this MacBook Pro for your productive works. In that sense, I don't think you would be finding any difficulties using this MacBook Pro. So my verdict is that if you currently own a MacBook Pro which is 2017 or 2018, just hold yourself and wait for the Mac M1X chip, which would be by the mid 2022, I guess. Don't quote me on that, I really don't know, but according to the speculation which I got. But if you are in need of a new MacBook Pro that can do all your editing works, all your productive stuffs, then why not? Grab one of these and you will be so damn happy about that. And that's where I'm gonna leave it. If you're still there, I really appreciate that. If you think this video was informative, then consider subscribing and sharing it with your fellow beings. I'm Nitin William and you're watching Will Pro. Cheers.